Tikal tried to kill me. In just 3 days, I faced dangers to my health, frightening moments with wild animals, and some very unlucky bouts of weather that nearly had me stuck in the jungle all by myself. My name is Josh, and I'm a digital nomad who lives in a new country every single month. Join me for the adventure of a lifetime to the ancient Mayan ruins of Tikal in the northern jungles of Guatemala. Like with any good adventure, a trip to Tikal doesn't come easily. Getting there is a bit of a pain. If you're traveling internationally, most likely you will have to fly into Guatemala City and then take a flight from there to Flores, and then take a shuttle from there, which is 2 hours long, to Tikal Park itself. I was lucky enough to be joined for this journey by 2 friends. Ian, who lives in Guatemala full-time and who you might recognize from my Japan series, and Wayne, a new friend that I had made just a few weeks before. We made it to the city of Flores, and hear me, my friends, there is almost nothing to do in Flores. It's cute and it's small, but it's really just hotels and restaurants. If you choose to head straight to Tikal from the Flores airport, I don't blame you. Especially if you're like us and you book rooms at the Jungle Lodge, which is located right at the entrance to the park itself. Jungle Lodge manages to somehow feel both luxurious and rustic at the same time. They put on documentaries about Tikal every single night. There's a whole restaurant and a whole bar. It's all very high end. And then you get into the rooms. There are no bathrooms in the rooms. You have to leave your room and go to a separate place for that. Yeah. I don't see that being a problem later. There are animals walking in and around the Jungle Lodge at all hours. I saw a toucan 3 feet in front of my face. At the front desk of the lodge, we booked a sunrise tour for the next morning. And so, now that we were all set up and ready after, a day of traveling, my friends decided that they just wanted to stay in and relax and go out to the park the next morning. Understandable. But no, I was feeling too adventurous. I decided to head out to see Tikal immediately, in a jungle that I had never been. By myself. Now, I knew that there was rain in the forecast, but I looked up and at the moment it wasn't raining. And my first mistake was that I, for some reason, thought that the main temples of Tikal were just around the corner. No, they're about a mile away. And even though it wasn't raining at that exact moment, it had been raining literally all day. And the paths to get there were super, super slick.
Just a matter of time before I slip and fall on my butt in front of all of these famous ruins.
So slick, in fact, that I really could only walk at about 1/3 of the speed that I usually walk. I finally got right up behind Temple 1, which is the most famous temple in Tikal. And right then, it started. An actual, full-on downpour of rain. And the sun was setting in less than an hour. I climbed the hill and made it over there just in time to see Temple 1 and Temple 2 in all their glory. The sun even decided to poke out from behind the clouds, just long enough for me to get these shots. I felt very lucky in that moment. And then, fun times were over. If you notice, despite being a major global tourist attraction, I am the only tourist in any of these clips. That's because no one would dare to be in the park alone after dark. There are genuinely dangerous animals all around. I had less than 20 minutes to get back. I had to move. Here I am in the park after dark. But don't worry, it's not what you think. You see, after some hustle, I did make it back just as the sun was falling behind the horizon. I ate some dinner with the guys and we went to bed early. But just a few hours later, wouldn't you know it, I was back in the park. We all were. But this time it was on purpose. And despite the lurking animals and spider monkeys in the jungle around us, we felt safe with our professional tour guide. This is the Sunrise Tour. We made several stops along the way, but the main point of the tour was to end up at Temple 4. Temple 4 is a decent distance farther down the trail from Temple 1 and Temple 2. And at Temple 4, you have the special ability to climb up a set of stairs and to sit on the top of an actual Mayan temple and watch the sunrise over the horizon. You see, at the top of Temple 4, the rule is total silence. We sat there quietly, and before long, the howler monkeys started. Their howling from the jungle in unison is sort of like an opening ceremony to start the day at Tikal. The history of Tikal is incredible. It was at one time a major hub of Mayan civilization and culture. This temple, Temple 4, is 70 meters tall, the tallest of all the temples in Tikal. These temple buildings, similarly to the pyramids in Egypt, are effectively tombs, enormous grave markers for some of the most powerful leaders of a bygone civilization. It was so incredible, and was worth every ounce of the challenges that it took to get there. But, if you can believe it, the biggest challenge was yet to come. We finished the tour and with the rest of the day had a chance to explore the areas surrounding Tikal. And that's when I made yet another bad decision. A decision that would give me one of the most painful travel nights I have ever had. Tikal is pretty tucked away. If you're staying at a hotel within the park itself, your options for food and activities are pretty limited. We sort of wanted a break from the food at the hotel, so we decided to grab a meal at a nearby and very local spot. That was a mistake. I ordered steak fajitas. Now, I normally love steak fajitas, but the meat here was extremely tough, very hard to chew. That should have been a sign. Nonetheless, I was very hungry, and I powered through and I ate most of it. Later that night, we had sat down at the bar to share a few drinks, and that was it. The beginning of a very challenging 48 hours. I had by far the worst and most painful food poisoning of my life. I didn't sleep all night long, and to make matters worse, as I mentioned before, there was no bathroom attached to the room of the hotel. It was brutal. I even finished the bottled water that I had pretty quickly, and I had no access to be able to buy more anywhere in the middle of the night. So I was genuinely nervous that I would face dehydration. It was a little tense. We had booked a super early shuttle for the next morning that would take us to the airport, where I would then have to get on the flight back to Guatemala City, and then take another shuttle from Guatemala City back to Antigua, where I was staying. I had no idea how I was going to do it. 3 separate journeys with little access to facilities of any kind. But, as is the case sometimes when you're on the road, I didn't have a choice. Moving forward was the only option. So, one step at a time, I went from transfer to airport to transfer. And finally, by some miracle, back to my apartment in Antigua. Tikal tried to kill me. Every step of the way, it was a challenge between the rain and the animals and the conditions of the trail and the terrible illness. It was all a struggle. But you know what's actually crazy? How quickly we forget the negative experiences that we have when we travel. When I think about that trip to Tikal, aside from, retelling the story for the purposes of this video, I really only think of the good things. That first time seeing Temple 1, or experiencing those howler monkeys at sunrise from the top of Temple 4. And also, I remember the help that I had along the way from my friends. Just keeping an eye on me and making sure that I was able to move forward every step of that journey home. I am so grateful for my travel experiences. You either get what you came for, or you leave with an incredible story. And sometimes it's both. One great example of that is the time that I flew all the way to see Machu Picchu in Peru and never got to see it at all. If you'd like to hear that story, click here to watch it next. I would love to share it with you.